to connect a region of over 600 cultural bridges between our lands.
Good evening, I'm Alma Angeles, and you're watching ASEAN in Focus on tonight's headlines. Nepali rescuers resumed the search for two missing bodies in the mangled wreckage of a plane that crashed with 72 people on board, with no hope of finding any survivors.
And that we all desire, especially, let us say, around the South China Sea.
President Marcos said the Philippines and other countries in the Asia-Pacific are facing pressure to take sides due to tension in the region caused by geopolitical rivalry.
Type of scenario.
5 Indonesian men charged with negligence leading to one of the worst stadium disasters in football history appeared in court by video link as their trial began. And on a farm close to Hanoi, Lee Van Yen picks out his best bird among 2,000 dragon chickens, a breed with legs as thick as a brick that can fetch up to $2,000 a head. Popular among the wealthy during the Lunar New Year, the lumpy legs of the Dong Tao chicken, named after the commune where they are bred in northern Vietnam, are considered a delicacy. First in our news, Nepali rescuers, they resumed their search for two missing bodies in the mangled wreckage of a plane that crashed with 72 people on board, with no hope of finding any survivors. Now, the families of the victims of Nepal's plane crash are mourning outside the Pokhara hospital as they wait for the bodies of their loved ones to be released. Take a look.
सबैलाई पीडा भएको छ परिवारमा एउटा मात्रै छोरी हुनुहुन्थ्यो त्यो भान्जी मात्रै हुनुहुन्थ्यो एकदमै परिवारमा भावविह्वल भएको छ अब अगाडि कसरी सम्झाउने भन्ने कुरा नै सोच्न सकिरहेको अवस्था छैन बिहालको स्थिति छ अब मेरो भान्जी अत्यन्तै एकदम ज्ञानशील हुनुहुन्थ्यो पढाइमा पनि त्यतिकै राम्रो र काठमाडौँमै अध्ययनरत हुनुहुन्थ्यो अध्ययन गर्दा गर्दै आफैले एउटा चाहिँ मेकअप स्टुडियो प्लस अनलाइन पनि चलाउनु भएको थियो मेकअप स्टुडियो आफैले चलाएर आफ्नै व्यवसाय हिसाबले गरिरहनु भएको धेरै जिम्मेदार।
The Yeti Airlines ATR-72 plummeted into a steep gorge and then smashed into pieces and then burst into flames as it approached the central city of Pokhara on Sunday in Nepal's worst aviation disaster since 1992. Nepal is home to 8 of the world's 14 highest peaks, including Mount Everest, making it a popular destination for tourists and trekkers. But this rugged terrain makes flying difficult, especially during bad weather that occurs frequently and at short notice. The country has some of the world's most remote and trickiest runways, flanked by snow-capped peaks with approaches that pose a challenge for aviators. Nepal's air transport industry has also been plagued by poor maintenance of equipment and lax enforcement after enhancements are recommended. The European Union has banned all Nepali carriers from its airspace over safety concerns. The company that produces the ATR is partly owned by European manufacturer Airbus. Now, it is a very rugged aircraft model widely used in Southeast Asia and Africa to reach remote locations. Though the cause of the latest disaster is not yet known, Mr. Greg Waldron, the Asia-Pacific editor for industry publication Flight Global, told the AFP that video captured of the plane descending indicates it may have had a wing stall, meaning one wing suddenly stopped providing lift. In other news, President Marcos said the Philippines and other countries in the Asia-Pacific are facing pressure to take sides due to tension in the region caused by geopolitical rivalry. Speaking during a luncheon hosted for him and the Philippine chief executive officers by the economic team in Davos, Switzerland, President Marcos underscored the importance of public-private partnerships in development, as well as the commitment of ASEAN and the APEC member economies to self-determination as they move away from intense geopolitical rivalry. Take a look.
In that we all desire, especially, let us say, around the South China Sea, we all desire a more multipolar. However, the forces of us going back to that Cold War type of scenario where you have to choose one side or the other are strong. And when I speak to the other ASEAN, APEC members and the other leaders, and I ask them, and they ask me, do you feel it, that you must choose? And I say, yes, don't you? And unanimously, they say yes. So the multilateralism that ASEAN, what we call the ASEAN centrality, that has become a very important concept. I think we are determined as a group in ASEAN and in the Indo-Pacific, those around the Indo-Pacific, despite all of this conflict, we are determined to stay away from that. And simply because we are anchored in the idea that the future of the Indo-Pacific, the future of Asia-Pacific, for example, cannot be determined by anyone but the countries of the Asia-Pacific. And that removes us immediately from that idea that you must choose. We choose our friends. We choose our neighbors. That's the choice that we have made.
Although there are some disruptions he described as a very big bump on the road, the president predicted that the world will find itself on the path toward globalization. In the related news, Mr. Michael L. Ricafort, chief economist at the Rizal Commercial Banking Corporation, or RCBC, said Davos is a good opportunity for the Philippine government to make a sales pitch to help attract more foreign investment that creates more jobs. It'll also give the Philippines a chance to diversify its exports, engage more countries that may need overseas Filipino workers, and obtain more multilateral funding for key projects. Take a look.
Well, mga business opportunities to, no? Actually, hindi lang siya sa larangan ng ekonomiya, pati rin sa teknolohiya. Kasi ito po ay gathering ng mga pinakapakapangyarihan, pinakamayayaman, at mga pinakamalalaking bansa, mga negosyo at industriya, pati rin po yung mga eksperto when it comes to the latest technology, no? Pati rin po yung mga ano natin, no? Yung mga multilateral agencies, nandiyan din po yun, no? Kung isa-isayin natin yan, kasi yung biggest companies in the world, no, nag-attend din po sila dyan. So, at the very least, ang tawag po dito, serendipitous. Kasi ito pong World Economic Forum, na ano po ito na-resume lang po ito for the first time in 3 years when it comes to ties, linkages, and relationships with the most powerful countries, the biggest businesses, and also yung mga eksperto. Nagko-congregate din po yung iba't ibang eksperto sa iba't ibang larangan. Kasi ang ilayunin din po dyan, solusyonan yung mga problema po ng ating mundo. Even the biggest banks in the world, nag-attend din po niyan, no? Nandiyan din po yung mga multilateral agencies, no? Yung kung saan yung mga sources ng ating mga official development assistance, lalo na po sa when it comes to infrastructure, no? Yung mga funding po nun, no? Yung mga concessional loans na mababa yung interest at mahaba yung payment terms, no? Sa iba-ibang multilateral agencies mula sa iba't ibang bansa. Ganon din po yung technical assistance, lalo na po sa yung mga technology transfer when it comes to, lalo na ngayon, yung mga, kasi yung mga critical issues na tinatalakay sa buong mundo, no? When it comes to inflation, export market din po natin. Pwede po natin itap din po through that, no? Talagang serendipitous Kino-consider din po yung mas mababa na cost ng power, no? Yung mga, syempre, ayan po yung mga titan when it comes to yung most advanced technology para mapadagdagan po yung supply ng kuryente ang ating bansa at mapababa po yung cost. Halimbawa, yung other than solar, wind, yung mga geothermal, hydro, pati rin po yung halimbawa, yung nuclear. Yung mga kapitbahay po natin, halimbawa, Japan, nauna po na 50 years. Yung Hong Kong and Singapore, nauna po yan ng almost 40 years. No? Tapos yung China, nauna po yan ng mga 30 years. Tapos yung mga kapitbahay po natin, nauna ng mga between 10 to 20 years. So, nakita naman po natin yung nung naging majority ng population ng mga kapitbahay natin sa bansa dito sa ASEAN at Asia, they experience relatively faster economic growth. Yun po yung nangyayari sa Pilipinas kasi napaka-fragile po itong stage ito when it comes to halimbawa, when it comes to healthcare, education, and other social services. Kasi majority, bata po yung populasyon natin. Average age of 25 years old. So, parang makikinabang po kasi yung mga bansa na may malaking populasyon. Basta maging productive po sila.
The current global economic slowdown is likely to force more workers to accept lower quality, poorly paid jobs which lack job security and social protection, so accentuating inequalities exacerbated by COVID crisis. According to a new International Labor Organization report, the ILO's World Employment and Social Outlook Trends 2023, or WESO Trends, also projects that global employment growth will be only 1% in 2023, less than half the level last year. Take a look.
The global economy faces a very challenging year ahead. The Ukrainian war, geopolitical tensions, disruption in supply chains, high inflation, the tightening of monetary policies and great uncertainty overall are all contributing to depressing the prospects for labor markets. The growth of global employment is projected to slow to 1%, which is half of the growth of employment in 2022, and it's 0.5 percentage points lower than what the ILO had projected last year. As far as unemployment is concerned, we are anticipating that there will be a rise of 3 million unemployed in 2023. If we are taking a new measurement of unemployment, which is the global employment gap, which captures the unmet demand for employment. So in addition to the 208 million of unemployed looking for a job, there are other 267 million people who would like to work but are not working, either because they are discouraged, they have been looking for a job unsuccessfully and they have decided to stop looking for it, and others that would like to work but because of family responsibilities, for instance, are not in a position to make themselves available for paid employment.
In tonight's other news, China says that the riot at a Chinese-funded nickel smelting plant in Indonesia was under control after 2 workers, including a Chinese national, were killed in the incident, which broke out during a protest over labor conditions. Take a look.
这是一起由劳资纠纷引起的个案。
This is an individual case that happened because of disputes concerning the salaries and payments. Now the situation is under control. China has communicated with the Indonesian side and pushed for the handling of this case in accordance with law.
A 30-year-old Chinese worker and an Indonesian worker were killed, according to Central Sulawesi police spokesman Direk Supranoto without giving a cause of death. Local employees, angry at working conditions and pay, held a one-day strike that resulted in clashes with security officers when they tried to enter the premises and set fire to heavy machinery and vehicles. Now from there, clashes occurred between workers who went on strike with workers inside. At least 71 people were arrested, of whom 17 were suspected of causing damage. 5 Indonesian men charged with negligence leading to one of the worst stadium disasters in football history appeared in court by video link as their trial began. Here's Rini Hanifa, a mother who lost her son during the tragedy.
Masa sih korban 135 tersangka cuma koma, yang nanya kemana? Ini bukan karena apa ya, angka loh ya, manusia ini bukan kewan yang dibunuh, manusia, anak-anak yang tidak berdosa, yang tidak bersalah, tujuannya ke stadion nonton sepak bola, tujuannya senang-senang, kenapa kok dibantai kayak gini? Salahnya aku, iki aku mayat Mas Rian di rumah sakit apa? Gimana orang tua tidak hancur hatinya, berangkat bercanda sama saya, malah mau ngajak adik-adiknya nonton sepak bola, nggak taunya pulang-pulang mayat. Tersangkanya itu, tolonglah Pak, seandainya Bapak yang kena musibah, anak Bapak yang dibantai, kayak apa hati Bapak, hati nurani Bapak kayak apa? Kita ini Pak, di sini Pak, yang kehilangan anak.
The stampede in October in the East Java city of Malang, which killed 135 people, including more than 40 children, came after police fired tear gas into packed stands when supporters invaded the pitch at the end of a match between rivals Arema FC and Persibaya Surabaya. Hundreds of people fled for narrow exits, resulting in a crush that left many trampled or suffocated to death. 3 local police officials, a match organizer, and a security official were all charged with negligence for their role in the disaster and face a maximum sentence of 5 years imprisonment if found guilty. A 6th suspect, a former director of the company that runs Indonesia's Premier League, remains under police investigation. The Department of Migrant Workers, or DMW, is targeting to bring home at least 300 of the 421 distressed overseas Filipino workers in Kuwait this month. DMW Undersecretary for Foreign Employment and Welfare Services, Hans Kakdak, Overseas Workers Welfare Administrator, Arnel Ignacio, and Social Welfare Attaché Bernard Bonino are in Kuwait to check on the OFWs staying at the government-run Bahay Kalinga shelter. Take a look.
The 421, we are looking at the possibility of repatriating more than half, around 300 at the most in the next 2 weeks. Realistically, in the coming week, we are aiming for around 200 to 250. Myself and Administrator Arnel are braced to accompany home, at least to be conservative, an estimated around 100. Just be conservative, could be more.
DMW Secretary Susan Ople ordered Kakdak to ensure that distressed OFWs are provided with proper assistance and medical care. Mr. Kakdak said Kuwaiti authorities, whom they met on Sunday, assured speedy processing of clearances. All expenses of the repatriation program will be shouldered by the DMW and its attached agency, the Overseas Workers Welfare Administration, or OWA. The government will provide the OFWs financial assistance as well as options for reintegration once they come home. And as DMW's focus is on the welfare and protection of OFWs, Mr. Kakdak also said they are looking at some legal actions that may be filed against erring employers, like cases of non-payment of salary or incomplete wages. Take a look.
Up to this point, we've been talking about welfare and protection, but we will also coordinate with the proper units in the Department of Migrant Workers with respect to any possible legal action, especially if the nature of the case or the complaint of the distressed worker is a violation of the DMW rules, especially with respect to recruitment and the care and protection of OFWs in accordance with their contract and the rules and regulations. So we will be definitely endorsing in certain situations legal action or cases where appropriate to the appropriate unit, the undersecretary in charge in the Department of Migrant Workers.
And tonight's other news, a 6-month-old baby and its teen mother were among 6 people killed early Monday when gunmen opened fire at a home in California, according to police officials. Here's Sheriff Mike Buedru of the Tulare County Sheriff's Office, and he described to reporters a grisly crime, a targeted attack that he said may be linked to gang and drug violence. Let's listen in.
Morning about 0338, just before 0400, 4 a.m. in the morning, the Sheriff's Office began receiving multiple shots fired, reports of multiple shots fired. Actually, the report was they believed an active shooter was in the area because of the number of rounds that were being fired. Deputies arrived about 7 minutes later. As deputies arrived on scene, they noticed two victims who were apparently dead in the street. The deputies began calling for more assistance and located a third victim of a shooting in the doorway of the residence where the gunfire was coming from. As deputies began searching the area, unfortunately they began finding multiple victims at this scene. At this point, we have six total victims who have been shot and killed at the scene, 6800 block of apartments behind us. We have victims that are located inside the home. We have one victim who is alive as deputies arrived, and CPR was being given to multiple victims on scene. Unfortunately, no one, including the man who went to the hospital via ambulance, he was also pronounced dead at the hospital. We can tell you that we believe we have at least 2 suspects at this point. We also believe that this is not a random act of violence. We believe that this was a targeted family. We believe that there are gang associations involved in this scene, as well as potential narcotics investigations. As of a week ago, we as the Sheriff's Office actually conducted narcotic search warrants at this residence. We can tell you that 2 of the victims, tragically, the whole situation is tragic. We have a 17-year-old mother and a 6-month-old child, both of which were shot in the head.
He said they believe 2 people attacked the home at around 3:30 a.m. Monday, U.S. time, firing multiple shots. A neighbor called the police, who arrived 7 minutes later to find dead and dying people both inside and outside the home. 2 people survived the assault by hiding inside the building, while several of the wounded were given emergency medical attention by first responders. One of the wounded died shortly after being rushed to hospital. Now, on a farm close to Hanoi, Lee Van Yen picks out his best bird among 2,000 dragon chickens, a breed with legs as thick as a brick that can fetch up to $2,000 a head, popular among the wealth during their Lunar New Year. The lumpy legs of the Dong Tao chicken, named after the commune where they are bred in northern Vietnam, are considered a delicacy and are a particularly popular dish among the wealthy during Vietnamese New Year known as Tet. Take a look.
cặp chân của nó là giá trị nhất. Đấy, có thể con gà 2 triệu nhưng họ sẵn sàng bỏ 1 triệu ra chỉ mua đôi chân thôi. Đấy, nó đặc trưng mà con gà khác không thể có được. Đấy, một cặp chân của nó có hàng 1 cân đến 1,5 cân.
Now, Yen's prized 4-kilogram bird, whose enormous legs make up around a fifth of its body weight, was sold for about $150, but especially large pedigree chickens have been valued at more than 10 times that. Some are even entered into beauty contests. The key to the bird's taste is its diet of corn and rice and the freedom it has to roam, according to Yen. Although the laying hens are kept in battery cages, which have been banned in some countries across the world, the chickens bred for meat are let loose in a small garden. The more the chicken walks, the stronger and bigger their muscles are, according to Yen, who has been breeding chickens for more than 15 years. The meat of the Dong Tao chicken, which can reach up to 10 kilograms, is prized for its tough and chewy texture and is also low in fat, healthy. So it's sometimes served boiled but also fried, stewed, or served with lemongrass. Lee Van Luan, who picked Yen's chicken meat as a year-end gift for his business partners and elderly relatives, is a regular customer in Dong Tao, and he said the best part of the Dong Tao chicken is the skin of their legs. The bigger the legs are, the tastier. And as my usual habit, I'd like to end the day on a positive note. Let's encourage and build each other up so that no one is left behind. And that's it for tonight's broadcast of ASEAN in Focus. I'm Alma Angeles, reminding you to stay in the news because we live in extraordinary times. Good night.